thank you for coming. We're only supposed to read for 5 minutes, so out of a whole novel, I find that pretty tough. So you're going to get the tiniest taste of Sand Queen. All you need to know about it, if you don't already, is that it's set in Iraq in 2003, the beginning of the war, just after the shock and awe campaigns. It was known bombing campaign. It is set in Camp Bucca, which was the biggest prisoner of war camp the Americans had in Iraq. It was right near the Kuwait border. And the story is told in the voices of 2 women on opposite sides of the war. An Iraqi woman called Naima Jassim, who's a medical student in Baghdad at the beginning of the story, and Kate Grady, who's a 19-year-old soldier from upstate New York. And the story goes back and forth between them. So I'm going to start near the beginning, and in Kate's voice, she's just driven up with her squad to the entrance. She's posted at the entrance of Camp Bucca, and Cormac, she mentions, is her sergeant. Cormac pulls the Humvee up to the checkpoint, and we climb out. Hitching my rifle strap over my shoulder, I head for the wire with my team, sand blowing up my nose and down my throat, making me cough. God, what I would give for a breath of clear air, one that isn't filled with dust and the stink of burning shit and diesel. Air like the air at home, clean, cool mountain air. Brady, Cormac yells after me, beckoning me back with a jerk of the head. When you get over there, tell the Hajis we'll mail them a list soon and make them fuck off. Yes, Aunt, and Brady, get a move on this time. I'm not any slower than anybody else, but I do what he says. What list he's talking about, though, I have no idea. There isn't any list. And even if we did have one, how in Christ's name am I supposed to tell these people, we'll mail you a list of the prisoners, when we just bombed all their houses and mailboxes too, if they even have mailboxes in Iraq? When we drove through Basra on the way here from Kuwait in March, right after shock and awe started the war, it was flattened. Nothing but smoldering rubble. People living in lean-tos made of cardboard and scrap. Garbage piled so high you couldn't see over it, making the worst stink I've ever smelled in my life. Corpses lying in the streets, smashed and gory, like those run-down deer on the highways at home, only with human faces. But Cormac always gives me the job of talking to these people. He's got the idea that the sight of a female soldier will win hearts and minds. We've just pulverized their towns, locked up their men and killed their kids, and one G.I. Jane with sand up her ass is supposed to make it okay. The minute I step in front of the checkpoint wire, the same old havoc begins. Civilians shouldering each other to get near me, waving photographs and screeching. The checkpoint is supposed to be secure, but ours is nothing but a plywood shack no bigger than a garden shed, a rickety wooden tower, a razor wire fence, and a handful of badly trained reservists with guns. And sand, of course, lots and lots of sand. Imagine being on an empty beach looking out at the ocean, I wrote to Tyler once. Now take away the ocean and replace it with sand all the way to the end of the frigging world. That's where I am. I'll move to Naima. The Americans made a sweep at this time, and they just picked up a lot of men and boys, a big mass arrest, and put them in Camp Bucca, and among them were Naima's father and her 13-year-old brother, Zaki. So this is the morning after they were arrested, in Naima's voice. So this morning, as I walk the 4 kilometers from Granny's village to the American prison, I am determined to do whatever it takes to find out what has happened to our men, both my own and those of my companions. Little Abu Raya and his wife, who have already lost 2 children to the Iran war, they were forced to watch their remaining boy and only comfort, being beaten and snatched in the night, just like Papa and Zaki. And Granny's friend, old widow Fatima, who has been making this walk every day for 3 weeks already, her brother and sole support is also incarcerated there. Did they tell you anything at the prison? I asked this widow on the way. Is your brother all right? I do not know, little daughter, she replies, shaking her old head. They tell us nothing. All we can do is wait. When we reach the prison at last, and the walk is long and frightening, with soldiers roaring down the road in their tanks and trucks, we see that many other families are already there, standing in a crowd beside the coils of wire that block the prison entrance. So we go to stand with them, burning under the sun and buffeted by the wind, ready to endure the same weight as any who have been beaten into passivity by war and history. We stand, my sad companions and I, until the sun has crept from the horizon almost to the top of the sky, and finally I see a tiny soldier plod up to the fence where we are waiting. He looks as though he can hardly walk under all he carries, with his helmet like an upside-down soup bowl and his sunglasses hiding absurdly large on his little face. He looks like a child in his father's clothes, but of course he is no child. I watch him approach, shouting and waving his silly little arms, and I feel such hatred bloom in my heart I do not know myself. Then I notice there is something odd about him, something wrong. I look again. It is a girl. I would laugh out loud if there were any laughter left in me. How desperate the Americans must be to send their girls to war. As soon as the people around me also see this soldier is only a girl, and out here all alone with us, they grow bold. You have killed our sons, they shout, closing in around her. You are lying to us, bitch. I step forward to curse her too, but then I stop. This behavior is futile. Better to wait for the chance to offer my English to this creature of destruction. For perhaps, God willing, in return, she will tell us what she and her kind have done with our men. That's a taste. I'm now going to pass it on to Royce Grantham.
Hi. So I want to thank you all for being here, and thank Christina and the Center for having us. And thank Joy D for asking me to do this. I'm going to read from my short story, which is in the collection I edited, Fire and Forget, so I'm here representing myself and also the 14 other writers in that collection, all veterans and one military spouse. And their stories about Iraq and Afghanistan and coming home. In the story the excerpt of the story I'm going to read is also at a guard point in Iraq, 2004, early 2004. I'll just get into it. Clouds hung low over the mucky earth, turning everything gray. Shots had been fired at the guard tower in a drive-by, so everyone was on alert. Staff Sergeant Reynolds had warned us Sergeant Major might be coming through. Reading worked his thumbs on his Game Boy. What fucking day is it? Today? No, yesterday, motherfucker. Yesterday was the day before. What day today? Fucking shit day. Tuesday? Whatever. 2 Iraqi Civil Defense Corps guards sat smoking, flipping through my copy of the Vanity Fair issue with the big Michael Jackson expose. One of the ICDC was younger, chubby, trying to grow a mustache and failing. The other was slightly older, his face pocked with acne scars. I watched him look at the fashion shots, the pictures of Riverland Ranch, the ads for JLo perfume and Philip Patek watches. You like America? I asked them. America? The younger one said. Yeah, America good? Yes, America good, he beamed. Michael Jackson good? Yes, Michael Jackson. Ee-hee, very good. You like Bush? Bush good? Bush good, yes. How about Saddam? You like Saddam? Saddam no good. Saddam Alibaba, the older one said, stamping his foot and spitting. You Shia? Sunnah. Ayatollah Sistani good? I asked. He shrugged. Muqtada al-Sadr good? Al-Sadr very good, the young one said. The older one shrugged. Shia? I pointed at the young one. Nah, Shia. He pointed at himself. Bush good? No Saddam? Saddam no good. Bush no good, I said. Bush Alibaba. No, the older one said, aghast. Saddam Bush same, I said. Alibaba. No, Bush good, the young one said. I shrugged. Alibaba. The older one pointed at me. You Christian? La, I said. No, God. He looked cross. Yes, God. La. He shook his head. No good. I shrugged. There was a bang at the door. I pointed at the young one and pointed at the door. It's a gate, actually. Then got up and grabbed my rifle and followed him to it. Fatal Bob, I said, and he unlatched the gate and put his shoulder to and slid it open. A middle-aged Haji stood outside in a dish dasha. A couple more stood back behind him. Salam alaikum, I said. Alaikum assalam, he said back, bowing slightly. What's up? He started talking Arabic, but then he said bomb, kumbala, Alibaba. He gestured back for one of his friends to come up. We have information, the guy said. Bomb and bag, yes. Okay, hold on. I turned back to reading. Fucker, I shouted. He looked up. What? Get on the radio and see if you can get a translator. For what? This guy says he has information. About what? About your mom. Fucking call somebody. Reading picked up the walkie-talkie and called Staff Sergeant Reynolds. They talked back and forth for a minute. Then Reading shouted, Sergeant Reynolds gonna go see if he can get one. Call up Red Steel Maine and see what they say. What'd I tell him? Tell him we have an Iraqi here who says he has information on a bomb. He got a bomb? He has information on a bomb. Information? Yeah. So what? So call Red Steel Maine. He picked up the other walkie-talkie and called Red Steel Maine. He talked to them for a few minutes and then shouted at me. They said he gotta go to Foxtrot Gate. That's the one on the south side, right? Fuck if I know. Then Staff Sergeant Reynolds called Reading back, so I waited, and when they were done, Reading shouted, he said he can't find a translator, and I told him Red Steel Maine said send him to Foxtrot Gate, and he said that's fine. I shrugged and turned back to the Hajis. You go around. Go to Foxtrot Gate. I gestured around, pointing toward the south edge of the fog. We have information, the one said again. Yeah, I know. You have to go around. Go round? Yeah. Go to Foxtrot Gate. The other Bob. You help us? Alibaba? No. Go around. You gotta go to the other gate. We have information. Kumbala. Yeah, I understand. Look, you gotta go around. Salam, I said, grabbing the gate and yanking on it. Civil Bob, I shouted at the ICDC. The Haji started shouting in Arabic, but I closed the gate and latched it, and we went back and sat down. We got off shift, daytime, nighttime. I slept about 5 hours. When I got up, I worked out, then cleaned my rifle and watched Malcolm in the middle. Reading slept. We lost track of the other guys, the daily patrols, whatever the fuck was happening. We started talking all the time in pidgin English. The big news was that one patrol got attacked by a retarded kid throwing rocks. He threw a rock and hit Jasper in the face, knocking out one of his teeth. The patrol stopped, and Lieutenant Perezi, Luca, and Roberts covered the kid. The kid picked up another rock. Put the rock down, Roberts shouted, but the kid lifted it up like he was going to throw, so Roberts shot him in the chest. Eels was with them, so he patched the kid up and they drove him to the hospital in the green zone. A week or so later, they got me and Reading up in the middle of the day when we were trying to sleep and made us go down to formation. They had a little ceremony and awarded Roberts a Bronze Star for valor. Captain Euro talked about what a great job he'd done defending the patrol. The only thing Roberts did wrong was forget his training, Captain Euro said. We trained and trained, 2 rounds center mass. Maybe next time you'll get it right. We all chuckled. Robert stared straight ahead. Thanks. Next up will be Roy-Bhattacharya.
The Watch is a book in 7 first-person voices, and I never know which voice to read. I marked a particular section but decided I was going to read from something else. So this is from the journal of the first lieutenant in the company that is the center of the watch, and by the time you read the journal, you know he's dead. And this is the end of the journal, and it's the penultimate chapter in the book. Night. It's a beautiful morning. The temperature's in the upper 60s, the sun dipping in and out of cottony clouds, the sky's an iridescent blue. I'm marrying Emily on the grounds of Nell's mansion, its bright green swath of lawn sweeping down to the Hudson. She hesitates before slipping the ring on my finger, and I try to contain my impatience, aware that the boys are waiting for me to get it over with and join them. As the minister pronounces her blessings, I look up at the clouds and close my eyes. Then I say a hurried goodbye and shoulder my pack and rifle. I run between the serried ranks of guests down to the river where my platoons arrayed in formation. I turn to wave goodbye and stop short when I see the shadows stretching across the sun-drenched lawn. Emily's wedding gown has turned to black. I want to call out to her, but the words don't come. She gazes at me with an ineffable sadness. I wake up with my own face streaked with tears. Why is it so difficult to say goodbye? I'll never stop believing Em. What's happened will never change the way I feel. And the words that wouldn't come, I remember them now. They are quite simply, my love. Day. 120 degrees, the earth bleached to a dry, bone-white crust. No breeze, but dust and grit everywhere. We walk around caked in dusk, sinking knee-deep into dust, cuffing dust. The slightest movement sends up dust clouds that hang suspended in the air like plumes. We appear and disappear as in a magic trick, swallowed by the dust and then regurgitated as dust-coated creatures. I wear wraparound goggles and swathe my head in my black and white checkered scarf. Docks clad from head to toe in what appears to be a portable tent. Sergeant Tanner's gotten hold of a motorcycle helmet with a visor and surgical gloves. Wayland's whiter than the rest of us, despite being shrouded in a poncho. For the first time since our arrival here, I can't even see the mountains. The day passes in a white haze of hot sun and burning dust. It's supposed to get even worse the next couple of days. I can't imagine how that could be possible. Night. It's still warm, even at night, but the wind's picked up. It's blowing from the southeast, directly out of the parched southern plains. Everything is suddenly filled with this wind and the dust and sand it brings with it. The dust makes it difficult to breathe, and everyone's retching up lungfuls of the stuff. The sand crackles underfoot, and when I lie down on my cot, I can feel it trickling down my back. I try reading, but my book sheds sand. The words slide off the page. I give up and watch the roof of the hut leaking dust instead. The wind buffets the door. There's sand seeping in through cracks in the floor. It's difficult to keep anything else in mind. When I step outside, all I can see are vast brown clouds sweeping through the darkness. It's as if the wind has finally uprooted something that had never stirred before, but has now taken over everything, erasing the familiar world, replacing thoughts from our minds and words from our mouths. And all we can do is to watch its assault, bewildered. Day. The entire base has come to a standstill. The dust storm rages on, and it's reduced visibility to nil. There's dust inside my hut, on my desk, on my bunk. I can't move without raising a cloud. I'm wearing a face mask, but I have to keep taking it off because it's asphyxiating. I'm dreading the prospect of going another night without sleep. We're all so tired. We're all so tired. We might as well be dead.